What's up, guys? Eric here with driverlineup.com, world's luckiest steering wheel holder. As your host, checking in with you guys. This is going to be a noisy video. I just did one with Captain Dave that'll go up on his channel, and I know it's going to be noisy because there's two prime trucks on either side of me, and both of them have fuel hog setting reefers. And mine's fresh meat, and it's 78 degrees. So it's going to be a reefer battle all evening, but it is what it is. Anyway, so I did this video with him, and I wanted to, oh, by the way, I gotta tell you guys, this place we delivered this morning, if you ever get a meat load to, let me pull this up. If you ever get a meat load with a drop off at, let me find it, at Chihade, Chihade International in Lawrenceville, Georgia. They had, no joke, you guys, they had unloaded us. Now, it wasn't a whole, I think it was 2 or 4 pallets or something. It wasn't a whole lot, but they had those 2 pallets off the minute I hit the dock. I wasn't even able to get halfway through my 30-minute break. You know, I have my on-duty time and stuff like that. But I think it was like 10 minutes of being unloaded with the bill signed and back to me. It was unbelievable. Amazing. Anyway, in this video with Captain Dave, he had asked me some questions about his training in his first 3 weeks, and it made me think to talk about, maybe think about what sort of challenges. So you guys know, okay, so I'm a CDL instructor with Prime Inc., but my only PSD and TNT student before this was Jenna, my wife. So I'm not going to claim that that's easy in any way, shape, or form, but she had already been on the truck with me for 6 months, and she knew so much of the business. She knew a lot of the truck, so it was just learning to drive the truck, you know. So this is kind of new with me, of really training someone from scratch and someone that's not Jenna. So I'm kind of thinking through some of the complexities and challenges, and one of the big ones that I wanted to talk to you about today, especially if you're thinking about becoming a trainer in TNT, and maybe if you're coming into training, just something for you to think about that I think we probably think about is, I know some trainers that struggle, and I've heard some struggles of students. And I think it's really important to never let go of the memories of the feelings you had when you first started, when you were in training. Like, I hear a lot of stories about trainers just popping off and just giving their students, you know, I mean, dressing them down, just letting them have it when maybe they don't use a turn signal, or, you know, something, maybe take a curve a little bit too fast, or something like that, which are, you know, you don't want those situations to happen, of course. But I do notice that I have this expectation, and Captain Dave's probably going to watch this tonight and be like, you didn't tell me that. I'm telling you now. I have this internal expectation of the truck being driven and ran the way that I drive and run it. And that's not a fair expectation. Now, I don't present that expectation to him, but when I'm sitting in the seat, that's what I want to happen, right? That's just natural. I think that's natural. I think you want to see the truck, you want to see the amount of distance between you and the person in front of you that you would have. You want to see the speeds around the corners that you would have. You want to see the turns made the way that you would make those turns. You are sitting there just like seeing the whole landscape and thinking, that's not the way I would have done it. That's not the way I want it to be done. It's not I would have done it this way, you know. you're thinking that the whole time. And that's not, the reason I bring that up is that you cannot have the expectation that someone who's been driving a truck for 2 or 3 weeks is going to drive the way that you drive when you've been driving for several years. You can't have that expectation. And I think, I know there's a lot of trainers out there that have that unreasonable expectation. And then when that expectation is not met, they lose their shit. And so that's been a really interesting experience for me, because I'm really having to come to grips with it, like in a real time, throughout the day, throughout this whole thing, is that other person is going to become a better driver with time. They're going to get to the point where they may have someone in the other seat, and they're going to be sitting there going, "That's not the way I would have done it." You know what I mean? You can't have. I have almost 3 years of professional driving experience, which means I'm still pretty new at it, right? But I can't possibly have this expectation that someone who's been driving for 2 or 3 weeks would do all the things that I, as a 3-year driver, would do. It's very unreasonable. And if they don't, then I can't get upset about that. I can't lose my patience about it. And that's hard. That's hard, because all the things that I do with my level of experience are things I believe need to be done to be absolutely safe as possible. I have a flawless safety record, and I have a flawless service record. So in my mind, I know and believe and am confident that the way that I drive and handle all the scenarios that I've come across out on the road are the best possible ways to be safe and be on time and be legal, right? But it took me 3 years to be the driver that I am today. So I can't have this expectation that someone who's been driving for 2 or 3 weeks drives the way that I do after driving for nearly 3 years. Does that make sense? So I think there's a lot of drivers, like, for example, my PSD trainer, and he's no longer with Prime, so I can say this. My PSD trainer smacked at my hand the first time I ever fueled the truck, and really snapped at me, really lost his shit, because I let the fuel line, the hose that connects to the the hand pump, whatever you want to call it, nozzle, I let the hose bump up against the lever. You pull it out to start the pump, right? And so the hose hit it, and he was a company driver, so it shut down his whole fueling authorization process before we even got started. And I'm sure it pissed him off. Like if that happens to me now, it would piss me off. But I've been in PSD for 5 days. You know what I mean? I've never fueled a truck in my life. I'm used to those tiny little fuel pumps and nozzles that weigh a pound. You know when you go from your truck, you get home and you go fuel your car, you feel like you're some sort of miniature model or something. The fuel pumps are ridiculously tiny. But this was the first time that I've ever held one in my hand, and I take it off the receiver, pull the little lever, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? How do I do this? And so the damn hose pushed up against it, and he was a company driver, and it closed out his whole fuel authorization. So he let me have it. He's like, "What? Are you stupid? What are you doing? Why would you do that?" And it's like, well, obviously I didn't do it intentionally, but he had this expectation that I knew how the bigger pumps work, how the hoses are, how to keep them away from that. Now I know all the little tricks and things to do to fuel and keep things like that from happening. Now I know, but there's no way that I could have known then. So why yell at me? Because it's not like I maliciously did something to you. It's that I didn't know. And it's an interesting experience to really teach yourself to operate your truck in an environment where there's very little experience, when you've taught yourself to operate your truck with great experience. You know what I mean? So that's just an interesting, like, if you're thinking about getting into training, like, you really have to gear your head right, and be prepared to be patient and be able to mentally and psychologically deal with taking the way you run your truck back to the very beginning days. Now, you're here to advise and you're here to try and help through the process, but at the end of the day, someone with no experience is driving your 80,000 pound vehicle. And it just is what it is, you know, and you have to embrace that and accept it for what it is, and be a professional about it, and be patient with it, and be understanding, and don't forget what it was like for you when you first got behind the wheel. And if you can't do that, if you can't be comfortable with that scenario and that reality, then you shouldn't be training. That's just my opinion. So anyway, I just wanted to I'm going to give you guys some more thoughts on it too, as I go through these next couple months of training. My reefer just kicked on, so there are now 3 prime reefers fighting right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one out, because my audio is probably getting crap now. But anyway, that's my thought. It is 78 degrees here in Florida right now. It's amazing. I'm about to go walk around, get some air, and then get some good rest. But I wanted to make a quick video for you guys. We got 2 drops in Jacksonville tomorrow, and then we're gonna try to run 2 more loads before we go back to Springfield. And both of us are taking Christmas and New Year's off. So I'll be home next week. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this update. Would love to know your thoughts and comments down below. Be safe, make good decisions, and as always, drive to thrive. Talk to you guys soon.